Because of the ongoing and devastating war, the imperialistic forces have tried to tear our unified and strong society apart, completely and utterly annihilate us, and make sure that we can never lift our heads again and are forced to submit forever. However, the effect that they are expecting or hoping for will, unfortunately, never come to pass because the required conditions and circumstances simply do not exist. Because instead this war has come to bond us, unite us, and more than ever, we remain standing.
Do you believe that Burkina Faso is in danger and that the government is doing nothing to address it? Recently, Burkina Faso's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, personally oversaw the apprehension of a foreign spy who had infiltrated the nation. Note that this is not the first time it has happened. The fact that this dramatic moment was captured on camera provides indisputable evidence of a leadership approach that is proving to be audacious and successful in the battle against regional instability. However, how was the spy apprehended and who was he? Captain Ibrahim Traoré recently showed his steadfast dedication to Burkina Faso's safety and security while commanding military operations on the front lines. Traoré was intimately involved in the capture of a foreign spy, which was an incredible turn of events. Someone who had sneaked into a dangerous region in eastern Burkina Faso, a location that throughout the years has gained notoriety for its ongoing conflicts with armed groups. Once tranquil, this neighborhood is now constantly changing as a result of both internal and external threats, making it one of the most dangerous in the nation. Some reports claim that this foreign spy was dispatched with the specific goal of obtaining classified information that may jeopardize Burkina Faso's already precarious national security situation. Because of the spy's clandestine operations in this area, the country's sovereignty was seriously threatened, which is why the discovery and capture was so important. The spy's intended information may have been utilized to support the hostile organization's continued actions that endangered Burkina Faso's peace and stability. Given the high stakes, Traoré's prompt judgment and unwavering attention to detail in spotting this threat were nothing short of heroic. However, it's not simply the intelligence advance that's noteworthy, but Traoré's active participation in the spy's interrogation. Traoré's leadership is based on his presence on the battlefield, in contrast to many other leaders who stay far away. His commitment to his nation is evident in his choice to lead the interrogation himself. Ibrahim Traoré is more than just a symbol in this conflict. He is the perfect example of active leadership. This direct participation in all operations, from intelligence collection to military planning, guarantees that every possible avenue is explored to secure Burkina Faso's future. His behavior demonstrates the unique style that has distinguished him from other regional leaders. Traoré is firmly rooted in the operational facets of his country's defense at a time when many other countries would depend on outside forces or remote leaders. In times of crisis, his leadership style, which is characterized by decisiveness and direct action, serves as an example of resilience. It makes it very evident that, in spite of outside influences and difficulties, Burkina Faso, under his leadership, is taking charge of its own fate. Traoré's commitment to Burkina Faso's security and sovereignty is exemplified by this recent incident. In addition to strengthening national defense, his active leadership raises Burkina Faso residents' spirits. His courage and fast thinking reveal a deeper dedication to protecting Burkina Faso's values and national identity in addition to its land. It is more evident than ever that Captain Ibrahim Traoré has Burkina Faso's future in his capable hands, free from outside influence and committed to upholding its integrity. Who is responsible for this spying, however, is the crucial point here. Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Let's proceed. Although the spy was apprehended while attempting to obtain confidential information, it is still unknown who sent him and why. However, who might be the actors responsible for this? Due to its strategic location in the center of the Sahel, Burkina Faso is accustomed to outside influences. And current circumstances only serve to emphasize how interested foreign players are in the nation's affairs. Because of its abundant natural riches, strategic location close to important international trade routes, and continuous participation in counterinsurgency operations, the Sahel region, which includes sections of West Africa, has long been considered a high-stakes geopolitical struggle. These elements, along with Burkina Faso's susceptibility to political unrest and armed insurgencies, have made the nation a top target for international intervention. Burkina Faso's natural wealth is one of its most alluring features to foreign actors. Significant natural resources, especially gold, are found in the nation and have quickly emerged as a major economic engine. Burkina Faso's mining industry has grown to be a profitable attraction for multinational firms, foreign governments, and private investors as the world's demand for gold continues to climb. Seeking to make the most of these assets, it should come as no surprise that foreign powers would want to influence the nation in order to keep access to such precious resources. Additionally, Burkina Faso is a crucial pawn in larger regional tactics due to the Sahel region's closeness to influential geopolitical powers. Mali, Niger, and Ivory Coast are among the countries that border the nation and have all been involved in complicated regional dynamics. For instance, because of its colonial past and ongoing military presence in the region, France has historically had considerable influence over West African countries. Western nations, such as France and the United States, may be interested in influencing events in Burkina Faso to achieve their own regional objectives, given their continuous operations against insurgent groups and want to retain influence in the Sahel. Meanwhile, it is impossible to ignore China's emergence as a major world power with significant economic ties to Africa. China has becoming more involved in resource extraction and infrastructural projects in Africa under the Belt and Road Initiative. Burkina Faso can be caught in the crossfire of a global power battle for influence in Africa, especially since it just deepened its connections with China. Efforts to influence Burkina Faso's political and economic destiny may be fueled by China's growing influence in the area, especially in the natural resource sectors. However, the struggle for dominance is not limited to Western and Eastern nations. Burkina Faso may be viewed as both a threat and an opportunity by its neighbors, especially those who are dealing with internal instability. With violent insurgencies, new alliances, and the emergence of autonomous leadership under Captain Ibrahim Traoré among Burkina Faso's ongoing internal issues. The fact that foreign actors are keeping an eye on and influencing national processes is becoming more and more obvious. It is impossible to overestimate Burkina Faso's strategic significance, regardless of whether these parties are motivated by a desire to control important resources, uphold regional dominance, or advance their own political and economic objectives. These outside parties probably want to make sure that the nation's destiny fits with their larger regional and international goals, even if doing so requires secretly influencing its internal politics. Therefore, it is still unclear who is actually in charge behind the scenes. The goals of foreign powers, whether they be security, geopolitical, or economic, are obvious, even though it may not always be simple to identify the precise players. Burkina Faso continues to be a crucial component of the Sahel due to its richness, advantageous position, and rising leadership. And its development will continue to be greatly influenced by foreign interests. The degree to which foreign players attempt to exert their influence will probably continue to be one of the most significant issues facing Burkina Faso in the years to come, as Captain Ibrahim Traoré and his leadership initiatives advance. However, Traoré is turning into a problem for everyone attempting to exert authority over Burkina Faso. What would Burkina Faso look like if it continues to develop under Traoré in this manner? In a few years, Burkina Faso will not only be surviving, but prospering if Captain Ibrahim Traoré continues on his current trajectory. His resolute leadership and steadfast dedication to the country's well-being might make Burkina Faso a model of resilience in an unstable region. Let's examine how Burkina Faso might change under Traoré's leadership. Imagine a Burkina Faso where the armed forces are confidently repelling outside threats in addition to holding their own. The military's cohesion and strength have been crucial under Traoré's leadership. His presence on the front lines, rather than merely commanding from a distance, makes it very evident that individuals with vested interests will lead the struggle for sovereignty. Because of this active leadership, military preparedness is constantly at the forefront, preventing armed groups and foreign infiltration. The nation may develop into a stronghold of independence, less susceptible to outside intervention, but also less prone to anarchy. His management style makes the Burkina Faso army a well-oiled, battle-hardened machine by encouraging a sense of solidarity among the armed ranks. Burkina Faso's voice on the global scene will increase in tandem with the might of its military. Without internal strife, this country may become a regional force that actively shapes solutions rather than just responding to problems. Imagine Burkina Faso having the strength to spearhead Sahelian peace initiatives. It might serve as a catalyst for regional diplomacy, particularly if neighbors see how stable Traoré's government is. Respect is earned by a strong, independent country, and Burkina Faso is already headed toward becoming a regional powerhouse, prepared to negotiate and mediate peace from a position of strength rather than weakness. The strengthened sense of national unity may be one of the most notable changes. Particularly in the struggle for national existence, there is a sincere drive toward a sense of shared sacrifice under Traoré's leadership. A shared purpose is uniting Burkina Faso residents, overcoming long-standing political divisions and ethnic conflicts. Burkina Faso might serve as an example of unity in contrast to the fragmented states that are frequently observed in the region. Traoré's focus on teamwork, rather than personal political advantage, could lead to a more affluent and peaceful country where people cooperate rather than compete. Imagine a time when there is a greater sense of pride in the nation's resiliency and fewer political and ethnic differences. Since stability leads to prosperity, let's now discuss money. Burkina Faso is expected to create new opportunities for economic growth as internal peace becomes more of a reality. Imagine a Burkina Faso where local industries flourish, businesses prosper, and employment is plentiful. The globe will unavoidably look to Burkina Faso as a potential investment destination once the nation has stabilized. There are more chances for infrastructural development, better educational institutions, and increased job generation when there is less conflict. In the upcoming years, agriculture, mining, and renewable energy might all see significant growth as a result of this economic shift, opening up new avenues for Burkina Faso's economic independence. The country will become more self-sufficient and less dependent on help as a result of the influx of foreign investments ready to enter a stable and expanding market. What will the future hold for Burkina Faso? If Traoré's trajectory persists, you will witness a revitalized country that is respected globally, unites its citizens, and prospers economically. This isn't some far-off fantasy. As long as Traoré is on course, the goal is very much within reach. The true question is whether the West, which is accustomed to dominating the narrative, can manage it now that Burkina Faso is no longer pleading for their help. The West has persuaded itself for decades that is the secret to Africa's prosperity. However, this is the harsh reality that they are unwilling to accept. They are no longer needed in Africa. Furthermore, despite the West's ceaseless efforts to keep control of the continent, a profound change is taking place that the West cannot ignore indefinitely. Africa is on a quest to demonstrate that the future can be independent. For decades, colonial nations used Africa as their playground, taking advantage of its riches, labor, and strategic location. African sovereignty was sacrificed when the West established empires under the pretense of civilization. The story has remained consistent from the Berlin Conference to the never-ending loop of aid and influence that exists now. Africa needed to be guided like a child, pretending to provide assistance in the form of aid packages and diplomatic advice. The West has been more than happy to maintain that narrative while profiting from Africa's riches. Here's the worst part, though. Africa is maturing, and it is doing so without seeking consent. Let's be honest. When Western capitals consider Africa taking charge of its own fate, they are filled with a tangible sense of terror. What impact does that have on them? For their long-standing political, military, and financial interests, what does that mean? The Western paradigm, which has long depended on maintaining Africa's subservience, is threatened by Africa's independence. They have a lot at stake, from the West's ambition to dominate African trade routes to the IMF's firm hold on economic policy. Because even if something is only hurting, the West isn't exactly the kind to quietly let go of something it's held for so long. However, the tide is turning, regardless of how firmly the West holds onto its antiquated notions of domination. Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, and Burkina Faso are demonstrating to the world that Africa can stand strong without waiting for approval. Western efforts to apply pressure, including military action, political isolation, or economic penalties, are losing their effectiveness. Why? Because Africa no longer fears speaking up and refusing. This is the aspect, however, that the West will not publicly acknowledge. The independence of Africa is not merely a given. It's already taking place. Africa's potential has been acknowledged by China, Russia, and other emerging nations, who have opted to form partnerships rather than exploitative alliances. A number of African countries are part of the expanding BRICS economic bloc, which is changing the world order in ways that the West can no longer govern. Africa is spearheading the push for a new global order in addition to becoming more prominent on the international scene. What then should the West do? The West is forced to change or risk falling behind as African countries develop their economies, bolster their militaries, and reject hegemony. No amount of diplomatic pressure can halt the emergence of an independent, uncontrollable Africa. The future of Africa cannot be negotiated, even though Western countries can keep acting as though they are assisting. Africa is sick of being a problem that needs to be solved. The continent is full with resources, unrealized potential, and the fortitude to triumph despite centuries of subjugation. The fact that Africa is a sovereign power will eventually have to be acknowledged by the West. All set to plan its course. They have the choice to either learn to accept that or watch as Africa continues to advance unabated and unstoppable. One thing is evident in the end. The way that Captain Ibrahim Traoré handles Spies is a blatant indication of his uncompromising opposition to the West. No more scheming, no more games. Traoré is prepared to go to any lengths to reveal the deceptive practices of the West in Africa. His efforts are part of a bigger plan to expose the West's clandestine activities and prevent their influence from harming African progress, not just to defend Burkina Faso's sovereignty. Traoré delivers a direct message with his treatment of foreign infiltrators. Africa has had enough of the unscrupulous tactics used by the West to subjugate it. Traoré doesn't hold back in exposing foreign agents who are found interfering in Burkina Faso's domestic issues, making the world face reality. It's a public statement that African countries are no longer prepared to follow Western norms, and it goes beyond issues of national security. The leadership of Traoré is evolving into something far more important. It's a potent act of rebellion that shows that opposition to the West's long-standing hegemony in Africa is growing. The West has been working in the background for years, controlling events and causing unrest to suit their interests. However, Traoré is cutting those connections in broad daylight with audacity. The West may attempt to employ their standard strategies of control and manipulation, but Traoré is exposing them all and is prepared to face the repercussions. This is more than just a military tactic. Reclaiming the narrative and holding the West responsible for its part in Africa's problems are the goals. And one thing is for sure, as Traoré maintains his position of leadership, Burkina Faso won't be the only country keeping tabs on everything the West does. The globe is awakening, and Traoré is at the forefront. Do you believe that Africa has a chance? Will Africa be saved by Traoré? Do you think Traoré will one day give up? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.